Hey there, and welcome. I'm so glad you could join me for this explainer. Today, we're getting into something super relevant for a lot of Aussies looking to take charge of their retirement, but honestly, it's a topic that's surrounded by a fair bit of confusion. Yep, we're talking about SMSFs, or Self-Managed Superannuation Funds. Specifically, we're going to look at the reality of running one. You know, the rules, the regulators, and your actual responsibilities. Let's just dive right in, shall we? A lot of people hear self-managed and instantly think, oh, I can do it myself however I want. But the truth is, the Aussie super system operates within a really carefully designed framework. There are rules, and there are very good reasons for those rules. So my goal today is to kind of demystify all of this for you, minus the heavy legal jargon, so you can clearly understand how this whole structure actually works.
To really get a sense of how common these misconceptions are, let's just set the scene with a quick story. Meet Emma and Ben. They're a pretty typical Aussie couple in their early 40s, and like a lot of us, they decided to sacrifice a Saturday morning to tackle that never-ending pile of life admin. Picture them sitting at the kitchen table, coffees in hand, just completely surrounded by tax papers, super statements, insurance documents, the whole shebang. They're just trying to feel a bit more organized with their finances. Now, while they're sorting through this mountain of paperwork, Ben stumbles across an interesting article about SMSFs. He pauses, looks up at Emma and says, "You know, I honestly thought this was just another way of managing super."
Emma stops what she's doing and looks over. She goes, "But if someone's managing something like that, who actually checks everything's being done properly?" Ben skins a little further down the page and says, "Well, looks like the ATO is involved." Emma brings up a really great point here. She says, "Oh, I thought it was completely independent, like opening an account, and that's it." To which Ben replies, "So there are still rules and someone overseeing things." And you know what? This right here is just such a common misunderstanding. So many people think an SMSF operates completely independently, like it's in its own little bubble. But as Emma and Ben are figuring out, self-managed absolutely does not mean unchecked. An SMSF operates entirely within a regulated system.
So if it's not unchecked, who exactly is doing the checking? Well, like Ben noticed in that article, the regulator for self-managed superannuation funds is the Australian Taxation Office, or the ATO. Now, I want to pause for a second here because I know hearing that the ATO is overseeing your fund can sound, well, a little intimidating to some. But let me completely reassure you, this regulation is not a bad thing. It's absolutely not a sign that anyone is doing something wrong or that the system is out to get you. It's just a standard part of how the structure works. The ATO is simply there to maintain clear rules, support compliance, and basically help ensure the system functions exactly how it was designed to. When you choose to set up an SMSF, you're essentially applying to be part of a regulated system that comes with certain tax concessions. The ATO's job is just to make sure those concessions are being used appropriately.
And that perfectly brings us to the why behind all these rules. Why does the ATO care so much about how an SMSF is run? It really all boils down to one foundational concept, and it's called the sole purpose test. The core purpose of the entire superannuation system is to provide benefits for your retirement. Period. So the sole purpose test exists to make sure an SMSF is maintained strictly and solely for those retirement purposes and for the benefits allowed by law. It basically stops people from setting up a fund and just doing whatever they want with the money right now. You can't use it to fund a current business venture, and you definitely can't use it to buy a holiday house for the family to use on weekends. Every single investment decision and administrative action you take within the fund has to pass this test. It's what keeps your eyes and the fund's activities locked firmly on your future retirement.
Let's look at a crucial, everyday rule that flows directly from that concept of sole purpose. You really have to understand the strict boundary between your personal money and your SMSF money. Because an SMSF is its own distinct legal entity, its assets have to be kept completely separate from your personal assets or your business assets. You absolutely cannot treat the super fund's bank account like your own personal piggy bank. If you buy an asset through the SMSF, it belongs to the fund, not to you personally. This separation is absolutely vital. It protects the fund's assets, ensures everything is clearly identifiable, and it's actually one of the main things the ATO oversees. Mixing personal and super money is a massive no-no, and keeping them distinct is just a fundamental responsibility of running an SMSF.
So yes, having an SMSF does come with its fair share of administrative and compliance responsibilities. But I really want you to look at these tasks not as some terrifying legal burden, but just as navigating a normal compliance journey. Think about it like owning a car. Owning a car means you have to register it, you have to get it serviced, and you definitely have to obey the road rules, right? Well, having an SMSF means you have specific duties to keep it running smoothly and legally on the road to your retirement. It requires a bit of ongoing attention, sure, but it is a very clearly mapped out path. Let's break down what that journey actually looks like on a day-to-day basis. You'll need to keep really accurate financial records, which means accounting for every single dollar going in and coming out. You're also required to appoint an approved independent SMSF auditor every single year. They just check over your financial statements and make sure you're playing by the rules. On top of that, you'll be lodging an annual return with the ATO and keeping records, like your meeting minutes and decisions, for up to 10 years. Now, these standard administrative duties aren't there to trip you up or catch you out. They simply create a paper trail that proves your fund is healthy, compliant, and meeting that sole purpose test we talked about earlier.
If there is one core takeaway I really want you to remember from this explainer, it's this simple truth. More involvement does not mean no oversight. And SMSF gives you an incredible level of involvement and control over your retirement investments. You actually get to make the calls. But that control comes hand in hand with a framework of rules overseen by the ATO. And honestly, you should embrace that oversight. It's completely designed to protect your retirement savings. Knowing these rules exist shouldn't cause alarm. If anything, it should give you the clarity and the confidence you need to operate your funds securely.
So I'll leave you with this final, thought-provoking question. Are you ready to manage your compliance with confidence? Running an SMSF isn't for everyone. It takes time, diligence, and a real willingness to stay on top of the rules. But the really good news is you don't have to navigate this journey completely alone. The team at Wendy Super Accounting specializes in SMSFs, accounting, and compliance. They're incredibly passionate about helping everyday Aussies understand their responsibilities clearly, which helps you avoid unnecessary mistakes and those dreaded administrative headaches. Having the right team in your corner makes all the difference in keeping your focus exactly where it should be, on building a great retirement.
This content is general and educational only. It is not financial advice. If you already have an SMSF or would like to better understand your compliance responsibilities, speak with the Wendy Super Accounting team.